Have you ever had someone destroy your career? Not because you were bad at your job, but simply because they could. That is exactly what happened to me. For 5 years, I gave everything to that company. Late nights, weekend shifts, missed birthdays, and missed family gatherings. I was the employee everyone relied on when things went wrong, and I genuinely believed hard work would eventually pay off. I was wrong, because one Monday morning, my boss called me into his office, and within 10 minutes, my entire life changed. I had no idea that 1 year later, the same man who fired me would be sitting across from me, asking me for a job. My name is Daniel. At the time, I was 29 years old and working as a project coordinator for a medium-sized software company. The pay wasn't amazing, the hours weren't great. But I enjoyed my work, and more importantly, I believed I had a future there. My manager, Richard, had been with the company for almost 15 years, and everyone knew he had favorites, everyone knew he played office politics. But I always thought that if I stayed professional and focused on results, it wouldn't affect me. That assumption turned out to be my biggest mistake. Things started changing when Richard's nephew, Kevin, joined the company. His name was Kevin, and Kevin had no experience, no qualifications, and absolutely no interest in learning. But he had something much more valuable: a family connection. Within weeks, people noticed what was happening. Projects that should have gone to experienced employees were suddenly assigned to Kevin. Mistakes he made were blamed on other people, and deadlines he missed somehow became someone else's responsibility. Every time management asked questions, Richard protected him, and meanwhile, the rest of us were expected to work twice as hard to cover his failures. At first, I ignored it. Office politics always exist, and I thought it was truly just a part of the job. But as time went on, it became increasingly difficult to ignore. I figured eventually performance would speak for itself. Unfortunately, performance wasn't what mattered. One afternoon, I discovered Kevin had made a serious mistake on a major client project. A mistake that could cost the company thousands of dollars. I spent 2 days fixing it, and when the client praised the work, Richard publicly congratulated Kevin, not me, Kevin, the person who caused the problem. That was the moment I realized what was happening. The promotion I had been working toward for years was never going to happen. Not while Richard was in charge. A few months later, the promotion was officially announced, and yes, Kevin got it, despite having less than 1 year of experience, despite everyone knowing he wasn't qualified. I was truly disappointed, but I kept working, and I told myself I would eventually find another opportunity. Then came the meeting that changed everything. On a Monday morning, at 9 a.m. Richard asked me to come to his office, and the moment I walked in, I knew something was wrong. HR was sitting there. A folder was on the desk, and Richard avoided eye contact. Then he delivered the speech. The company was restructuring, my position was being eliminated, and my services were no longer required. Just like that. 5 years of loyalty gone. I asked a simple question: who will be handling my projects? Richard hesitated, then he answered, Kevin. Of course, Kevin. The restructuring was a lie. They were firing me to make room for him. I packed my desk that afternoon, and nobody could believe it. Several coworkers privately told me the decision made no sense, but nobody could stop it. I drove home feeling angry, humiliated, and honestly, scared. I had rent, bills, and responsibilities, and for the first time in years, I had no idea what came next. For several weeks, I applied everywhere. Some companies rejected me, others never responded, and my confidence started disappearing slowly but surely. Every rejection felt truly personal. Every day felt longer than the last. Then something unexpected happened. A former client contacted me, and apparently they had heard I left the company. They asked if I would be interested in helping them as a consultant. It wasn't a full-time position, but it was enough to get started. I accepted immediately, and the project went well. Then another client reached out, and another and another. Within 6 months, I was earning more than I ever had as an employee. For the first time, I controlled my own schedule, my own projects, my own future. Eventually, I partnered with a friend who had experience running businesses, and together, we launched a small consulting company. The beginning wasn't easy. There were mistakes, challenges, long nights, but unlike my old job, the results depended on effort, not favoritism, not politics, not family connections. 1 year later, our company had grown to 15 employees. We were profitable, stable, and hiring. One morning, our HR manager forwarded a resume to me and said, "Thought you might want to see this." I opened the attachment and nearly laughed. The applicant's name was Richard, my former boss, the same man who fired me, the same man who replaced me with his nephew. Apparently, things had not gone well after I left. Several major clients left, projects struggled, revenue dropped, and eventually the company downsized. Richard lost his position. Now he was applying for a management role at my company. For a moment, I felt something dangerous: satisfaction, the kind of satisfaction that whispers, "Now it's your turn." I could have rejected the application immediately. Nobody would have questioned it, nobody would have blamed me. But then I thought about something. The reason Richard had failed wasn't bad luck, it wasn't timing, it was the choices he made, the favoritism, the politics, the abuse of authority. And if I acted the same way, then what exactly would make me different? And so I did something unexpected. I scheduled an interview. When Richard entered the room, he looked older, tired, and nervous. The confidence he once had was gone. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then recognition appeared on his face, and he knew exactly who I was. The interview was professional, nothing more, nothing less. I asked questions and he answered. There was no confrontation, no dramatic speech, no attempt to embarrass him. At the end, he quietly said something. "I owe you an apology." I wasn't expecting that, and he admitted he had made mistakes. He admitted he had allowed personal relationships to influence business decisions, and he admitted firing me had been the wrong decision. The room was silent for years. I imagined what I would say if I ever got that moment, but strangely, the anger was gone. Success had already given me closure. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need to win because I already had, not by hurting him, not by humiliating him, but by building something better. In the end, we hired another candidate, someone who was a better fit for the role, and Richard thanked us for the opportunity and left. That was the last time I saw him, and honestly, that's where the story should end. Because real revenge isn't destruction. Real revenge is proving that someone else's opinion of your value was wrong. The day Richard fired me, he thought he was ending my future. In reality, he was forcing me to find a better one. And sometimes, the greatest comeback is simply becoming successful enough that the people who doubted you become part of your past. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your former boss applied for a job at your company?
The next day, I received a meeting request from senior leadership, not my manager, not Jason, the actual executives. The conversation lasted almost 2 hours. They asked questions, lots of questions, about timelines, documents, research files, project history. Luckily, I had everything: emails, drafts, reports, versions, records, months of records. The evidence wasn't complicated, it was overwhelming. Every document clearly showed who created the project, me. Every timeline clearly showed who developed the system, me. Every revision clearly showed who did the work, me. There was no debate, no confusion, no misunderstanding, just facts, and facts are difficult to argue with, especially when they're documented. A week later, Jason disappeared. No announcement, no explanation, No goodbye email, nothing. One day he was there, the next day he wasn't. People started talking, rumors spread quickly, most weren't accurate, but one thing was certain, his career at the company was over. As for my manager, he wasn't fired, but he wasn't promoted either. The executives lost trust in him, and in business, trust is everything. Without it, leadership opportunities disappear, slowly, quietly, permanently. 3 months later, the company created a new position, Director of Strategic Analytics, and they offered it to me, not because I demanded it, not because I complained, not because I sought revenge, because I earned it. The promotion came with a significant salary increase, a larger team, and direct access to leadership. For the first time in my career, people saw my work, not Jason's version of my work, my actual work. And that's when I learned something important. The best revenge isn't humiliation. The best revenge isn't destruction. The best revenge isn't getting even. The best revenge is becoming impossible to ignore, because eventually, people reveal who they are. Liars reveal themselves, and that's all that needs to be said. Cheaters reveal themselves. Frauds reveal themselves. You don't always need to expose them. Sometimes, all you need to do is stay patient, long enough for the truth to do the job for you. Jason stole my idea, my promotion, and my recognition. For a while, it looked like he had won. But success built on someone else's work never lasts forever. Sooner or later, reality arrives. And when it does, nobody can save you from the truth. The truth always keeps receipts, and eventually it collects. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real-life revenge stories.